Hey fam. So I just wanted to talk about how these narcissists and the very covert, malignant type of narcissists that can extend themselves into your immediate family, your friendship circle, when you're poisoned up. It's a really harsh thing to deal with, but it's just the truth, and it's all meant to make it look like and sound like it's all mental health when it's not. I can understand mental health, especially coming out of a long-standing poisoning, but in my situation I've been living through something that's just hard to imagine until it happens to them. And it's not a single event. It's multiple events in my life that was to tell me the truth about what had been happening. I found myself a long while in this covert warfare, trying to figure it out and trying to deal with it, but I mean, it was around every corner. It created my homelessness. It created a 72-hour hold when I had just had a psych evaluation, and it was fine. I just needed... What they said is that I needed to know who's in my life and know how people are responding in my life. Like, I have every right to know how people are going to be treating me behind the scenes in my life. Are they for you? Are they against you? Are they just not giving a shit? Like, you deserve to know these things, to know how you're gonna move. And on top of that fact, when you're poisoned up left and right, you really don't have your organic self to be able to suggest to you your own self, I'm going to move away from these people, regardless if they're family or friends or people in your community, people you grew up with. It doesn't matter who they are. But for me, it wasn't one bad relationship. It was set up, bad relationship after bad relationship, to make those endeavors of their affairs by proxy as if it was my fault. All me. When it was set and staged that way to psychologically torture and abuse me, abuse the privilege of knowing me, and it went from this covert form of abuse to the very psychological, emotional, physical, and financial abuse. And when you're poisoned, you don't know these things. You feel them for a short while, and then very short while, but then you move on because you really want to love your own people, right? Correct? You don't want to just jump the gun on anything, A, and B, when it starts happening over and over and over and over, you know that these repeated events are leaving you in a cycle of that abuse. And so while they're cycling the abuse by proxy, and these proxy relationships are showing the very signs of where it's coming from all of a sudden, you're not going to just jump the gun and be like, oh, you're doing the same thing that so and so did, or you're doing how do you even put it into words? Like, they're doing something that is being manufactured over your life. Like, my life is just one big heist movie. Like, I'm the bank, and they got all these parts and pieces meant to siphon my life's energy away. Well, and the reason that's so hard to believe for other people is because these things just don't happen. It's unlikely. And when it is happening, and it is actually real, it's hard to get that truth out to somebody in order to suggest, what the fuck? This guy's telling the truth. You see what I mean? Most people are just going to be looking at it going, oh, that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would your own family do that to you? Why would these people be doing that to you? And that's a good question. Why they were doing it to me was because they had actual scenes inside of their life they didn't want me to come into complete disclosure to myself or others about, which is exactly why I needed to learn how to utilize words correctly and really fast because of the ways that they were taking over my life. So while this narcissistic control in these events started coming through other people, at first you don't see it for what it is. At first you just don't understand it. Not only the poisoning helping you not be able to understand these things, but you just don't want it. You just wouldn't see it for what it is. You see? And you don't want to. It's like even having it happen to you. You don't want to. You don't want to see it for what it is. You just wish you could go back to thinking that these people loved you, had your better interest at heart, and instead you're finding out that through these different people and systems, it's like it's orchestrated to make sure you never have a fair chance in life. Because while they're emotionally sabotaging you, you're being character assassinated to move in your emotional stance how you would normally move. And then when it turns physical with the poisons, well, now you really can't move how you would otherwise move because it's happening to you unwittingly. And then when it's systematic, it's like, what the fuck kind of abuse? Because these people legitimately want to siphon your energy, your time, resources to actually make you out to be the criminal now, instead of all the 86,000 crimes that they've been playing about your life the entire time. And then when it's financial abuse on top of it, then because your health deteriorates, your performance in your workplace goes down, you get let go of. You're the common denominator. You're the common one out. It doesn't matter what job you are in. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. It's just how it happens. You see? And not only that, but no one wants the scent of detoxing from their very heavy biological warfare that they've taken inside of my body. They've put inside of my body. To all act contrite and smile on my face. Oh, hey, buddy. How's it going, buddy? Hey, buddy. You know, but they're not your buddy. They never fucking were your buddy. You see, they're moving in silences to leave you silenced in ways that you couldn't even imagine how it would leave you until you actually see these things. And even if you don't want to see them, even if you just literally just don't want to see them, you would end up dead. you would end up dead if you didn't choose to call back all of your autonomy, all of your energy. Which is like, I'm the 1% of the 1% that would have made it through that type of covert abuse that I've been handed throughout all of my life. And I think it's because from such a young age, I was being poisoned. I didn't have my natural mind at 5, let alone 15 or 9 or 28 or 22 or 32 or 29, anywhere in my life. So I'm sharing this because if it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. And when the system ignores these crimes that are running so fucking deep, that silence just becomes a part of the crime, a part of the psychological terror, if you will, to gaslight you in silences. And on top of that, having people that supposedly love you just withdrawing at the most convenient of times. You're going to see the patterns eventually. And I suggest being a writer, because speech is something that's important. Being able to speak on the spot with what is actually happening to you. You can't be lost. You can't be... in order to break through that mental constraint that the poisoning makes, because you can't have short-term, mid-term, or long-term memories sometimes, you have to legitimately get away. And from my experience, it was like 10 months, 11 months before I could actually get things into the rock solid. All the rest of my work, my beginning work on YouTube here, has been just emotional shrapnel. It was like me legitimately trying to fight hard as nails to get through that. So, what happens when you can't describe a pattern? What happens to you when you can't legitimately utilize your vocabulary that you do have, that's already minimal, based on how profoundly dumb that these poisons make you? Or, I wouldn't say dumb, but it's like you have a mental unwellness that you just don't understand why is there. You can cry, you don't even know why you're crying. But it can be one extreme or the next. You can either cry, or it can be like you're laughing hysterically because you just don't understand. Or it can even be another extreme of anger, being enraged, feeling like you're just trapped in a cage and you just can't see to get out of. And that was, all three of those events were my life growing up. And so they want to blame me. They want to blame me for the rage. They want to blame me for the sadness and say I'm depressed and have anxiety. They want to blame me for maniety. But that maniety was definitely manufactured through an unwitting poison. I never signed up for it. And when you're unwittingly placed in this kind of abuse, you don't even realize at first what's being done to you. You're just kind of going through the motions on autopilot. So then they plant these people in your life, these fake relationships, fake ties, fake supporters, and even allow you to be faked in opportunities or have fake opportunities. Yeah, very much fake opportunities to take you out full scope of the measure. They want to actually suggest that you're going to be available to yourself to be a part of a network marketing or be a part of some kind of way of making money, but all that is done for is to get in your information, get in your computer, hijack your information, or hack your information so that they can continue moving about their cage piece of shit way. And so it's all meant to lead you towards harm and failure, life sabotage, relationship sabotage, so that you can't see it, so you blame yourself, right? But you can't blame yourself. You shouldn't blame yourself. When you're like literally being lost inside of a way of life that's meant to leave you lost, and deciding for yourself that, oh well, I must be just messed up. There's nothing extra for me to see. My brain's just scrambled eggs for no apparent reason. And then when you start to notice and you start to speak up, it's like the system closes its doors on you. You notice, you make reports, and then it goes away because there's more emotional shrapnel, there's more psychological abuse, there's more physical abuse, there's more proxy relationship abuse, family abuse, you name it. And it can be any amount of these things and worse, which in my case I believe wholeheartedly was worse. Hey Bunny. Hi Bunny. I see you, Bunny. Anyway, so then when you're like out here calling for help, but the help doesn't come, the help doesn't care, the help that's suggested to you growing up in high school, if you have some kind of issue going on, you got people out here that care. They don't care. And instead, it's like the exact opposite of care. So not only are you dealing with the psychological abuse and the sabotage, you're like literally dealing with psychological warfare. And so you'll see, because of the abuse, you are lost in jobs, your performance goes down, you lose a position that normally you would have been able to sustain had you not been poisoned. And had you not been poisoned and you actually had friends as allies, then you wouldn't be in the blight, the overgrown things that are coming up in your life. So utilities can get shut off, your accounts can get drained or hacked, like your online outreach can get hacked, friends and allies that you thought you were supposed to have vanish, because that's what they were to begin with, just vanishing points of authority to suggest that they can move about this way in proxy while treating you like you're the problem for even speaking up about it. And this is exactly how corruption hides, making you and your story look unbelievable by most. But it's actually the truth, by making you so tired, so poor, so sick feeling to keep even fighting. And then not only that, but legitimately having these cyanide attacks that were meant to take my life. I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for my heartbeat, while at the same time being gaslit inside of the medical community, because the medical community knows the verbatim that they're working in sorcery and witchcraft in this evil design. They're not working for whole body health, and if they were, you would be introduced to what would actually heal your body, help you heal your body, help you heal your mind, doing holistic care, whole body care, not treating symptoms, not treating little not band-aid things that are meant to keep you drawing in to the systems that are doing these crimes, and it's an existential threat to your life, your actual living, your actual availability to live the way you would otherwise choose to live. So it's not just emotionally exhausting, it's emotionally painful, it's spiritually exhausting, it's physically exhausting. And you're talking about your stability. You're taking stance inside of your better life for your own natural light to be able to come out and actually suggest to people how this is actually possible. But they're not only taking away these avenues from you, they are actually taking your inner sanctum completely away. Your inner core, your inner heart's reason, your inner I don't know how to say that, but like the ways you would mean to be. Instead of enraged, instead of crying, instead of being anxious, instead of not knowing what's going on, instead of laughing because you're like, I don't know, you don't know what's going on. You're suffocating. They're suffocating you out of oxygen out of your body. So every part of your life gets sabotaged. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your peace of mind, your home life, your family life, your relationships, your supposed proxy support system. But like any support system, because it's all been gamed in order to take away anything organic from you. And if you have anything of an organic relationship, they try and get in the middle of it, be the wedge, much like in Mounds View and a couple other areas in my life where they were, my brother was a wedge, like wielding in, not even knowing a fucking thing about that person, and trying to derail that person from ever having the availability to care, because it's just too harsh and they don't want to be around that. If they can get away from it, they're going to choose to get away from it in their own decree. You see what I mean? Their own way and ability to see, like, I can't tolerate this, I'm not going to tolerate this, I'm not going to put up with this, I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I have to check out. And that's exactly what you'll experience. So whether or not you live in a house, an apartment, couch hopping, homelessness, just wherever you are, it doesn't matter, because those attacks follow. And it's because it's systemic inside of its design to make sure there's nowhere safe to go. There's no one safe to turn to. And when you feel like you have someone safe to turn to, well, they look away. And that's when you realize how deep the corruption really goes, because it's not justice it's not just the justice that's ignoring you, because it's not about justice anymore. It's about participation inside of the crime. And either way, they can play it how they want to, but that's exactly the way it's been in my life, because you're not going to tell me that I almost get kidnapped 3 times by the age of 11 by the same guy that kidnapped Jacob Wetterling, who me and Jacob Wetterling had shared the same birth dates. And I think there's just more to be tied in with that, with how the cage piece of shit of my father was, to how the cage of piece of shit as Jesse was, to how the cage of pieces of shit that my brothers decided to be, to take over my life in the first place and take over my life by proxy, to create these proxy wars against me. And so it's bigger than just me. Oh, cool. Something else came up here, sorry. So, and it is. It's bigger than just me, because these systemic crimes can happen to anybody, all across the board. I'm going to actually shut this light off and shut off the car. That's another thing too, is like with my organic life, It's multiple things like this, but I have grease. I would have had time to grease these wheels or the chain or whatever needs to happen to make it not squeal up and down. But you just don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for your health. You don't have time for anything normal in an organic fashion whatsoever, because of what they do to take away from your livelihood. And I just want this to really matter to people, because what my mission was and what I was creating as a website was just beyond beautiful. And if I could actually have that out there in the world, which I thought I was going to already have like 2 or 3 times over by now, but I didn't see these things for what they were happening to me. And that's what's been happening to me, is I've just been being completely hacked. And so it's about every person out here who's been silenced, dealing with this covert warfare, dealing with being targeted, dealing with being ignored by the very system that's supposed to protect you, and instead of being listened to, you're just being gaslighted or gaslit and made invisible by the very systems that are supposed to be helped to protect you, because that's what they were designed to do, not work in awkward ways, coming up into my home when I'm at work, or having the same things happen to my mother, where I'm like coming in and they're like, the cops are like legitimately holding the door behind me. What am I supposed to do? Like, I can't think to afford body camera the way they can. And I mean, if I could, I would. Truthfully, I would wear body camera 24/7 because of these cage pieces of shit and what they've done. But excuse my French. I'm not trying to get mad. I am just mad. I am really angry about what's happened in my life. But it's about the need for independent review. That's what it is about. It's about having real advocacy out here, creating real advocacy out here, reaching influencers and supporters that can help change the ways that the system is, so that we can get rid of these freaks that who knows what they're actually doing, and who knows what they're actually capable, and who knows what they all protect, because it's not just these crimes that I'm talking about here. There's just no advocacy and accountability that doesn't come with the political cost. And if you can't afford that political cost in this world, well, you're the one that's being erased. You're the voice that's being, like mine, completely being dismissed and and everyone in the world, they just don't care. It's not happening to me. Why should I care? The world sells people on this. Oh, I'm so independent, when in reality, in Christ, we are all connected, which is what offers people the reality of the mirror, to see what people are actually like, and then for us to be able to speak out against their cafe cage design. And so I just really wanted to stop it, so that the next person that wouldn't otherwise survive it can survive. And not only that, but I would really like to take it to places where all people, mind you, can truly thrive. Not just the victims, but the people that are actually thinking like, oh, I'm going to be hoity-toity and work against people and get away with it. Just being complete cowards, closing people off in ways that are just mainly unimaginable to people. So if you've watched this video this far, thank you very much. Because I'm not seeking revenge. I'm literally seeking for that advocacy and for that independent review. I'm asking for visibility out here, because people were seeking me out in my life in ways that I wasn't always able to see. And so, honestly, I care a whole lot about people. I deserve to be cared about too. And the bit of truth that I'm after, to be able to share, comment, connect, and help prove that a person's life isn't just disposable because they might have a difference of opinion or whatever. My story is being written, and I want to live it freely. for a change. I've been being poisoned up since I was a young kid. I think I deserve to like actually have a go at life finally. Even if I only have like another 2 months left to live, for crying out loud. I just don't want them to take away my whole life from birth to grave, because that's basically what it feels like to me. And you're left into a world that's living scot-free, getting away with these abuses without integrity, without love, without establishing any peace, and there's just no justice. So I'd like all of those parts in place in my life. So if you can, please listen, please share. It means a lot, and it really does matter. Your likes, your shares, your comments, they all matter, because we need to get this kind of information out in the natural public when we don't have a free press. You can see that they're all reading from a teleprompter, and turn off your news channels already. They're just making money off of like the same old abusive system, and I'm trying to bring what's being hidden to light. And so if you do support my efforts here, please like, share, and subscribe. Please do that. I need my story heard more than a lot of people do. And so I believe I deserve that chance. And that's why I'm out here in the first place in this fashion, trying to make a better stance for my own life and love life, so that these people just don't get away scot-free, scot-free, doing what they've done to me in my life. So thanks again for being here. It really means a lot to me, and I hope that you'll send me some encouraging words and comments throughout all of my work out here. So I'm like doing this, trying to do everything I can and to the best of my ability. And like here and there, I'm feeling a little bit better finally. But at times I'm like, holy crap. Like, you just feel like your whole world is going to just shut down because of what arsenic does to a person. Or whatever poison that they got in my body. It's like my insides are just shutting down. And then I go into the medical field for help, and they just legitimately ignore my heart. They ignore what I'm going through. They don't even so much as do a CAT scan, let alone draw my blood. They got tests that they could determine what is in my body, what's been in my body, and all of that. They're just not trying to do anything. They're trying to wait it out for it to be long enough to where there's nothing that can be proven based on tests. So if you ask me, it's a shit design for a medical field. It could be so much better than what it is, and if people don't even see that, then they're just blind. Sorry, but I'm not going to neglect what's an ongoing fight for my own truth, to believe that justice isn't justice unless it's serving everybody the same, regardless of the value of what money they have to hold. And if it has to rely on, Freemasonry type of occultist design, or, these freak pedophiles being able to pay people off to work a certain way and shovel money and gift cards and whatever else, you can see it for yourself if you want to, but otherwise it's like, whatever. They just want to throw all the Christians up on the cross, basically, and act as though their hearts are going to be stable when there's not one person actually praying over their enemies in that kind of way. I'm very much told that once they get that far, which they probably will, because just the whole world is working in a piece of shit direction right now. So once they do get that, their hearts are all gonna flibble around, and they're gonna flop to the ground the same way that the abuse and poisoning and everything has done us. They're not gonna even know what hit them, because it'll be God's wrath then, right here now. So I think it's pretty sad and pathetic is all I'm getting at. I think that the whole world and humanity in and of itself could live a little bit more beautifully in a way that this world just does not have capacity to hold the beauty within and contain it. Like, is it in a gallon jug? No. And I think it should be all over the whole world, reaching all the way up to the sky. But there's beauty in the way that the Lord designed the world. But these people, they're just not trying to allow any of that light to be worked within. So anyway, it's just really scary. Please like, share, and support. Comment, and leave some encouraging word. Goodbye for now.